Annyeonghaseyo. And it's an honor to be in this beautiful city of Busan amongst some of the progressive government agencies, some of the leading businesses and expert organizations. So thanks a lot to the Ministry of Trade, Energy and Industry and the Korean Energy Agency for inviting us here. It's a pleasure to be here. You heard Yolin talk about 100% renewable power. I'm going to take a step further and say it doesn't only have to be 100% over an annual basis, it has to be 24/7. Okay? So today, this is what I want to talk to you about. Quick introduction of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. For those who don't know us, I'll talk about the new frontiers for renewable power procurement that are emerging now. Focus on one of those, which is the 24/7 access to carbon-free power, and then summarize. So for those of you who don't know us, WBCSD is a global organization made up of 200 plus organizations and companies across the world, across sectors, working hard and together to move ahead in their sustainability journeys. We have a unique business-only platform. We, of course, liaise with the government, but we take business voice to the government. And our main motto is to make sustainability profitable with the help of the businesses. This is just a quick look at our members. These are across the sectors, across the globe. Have a very simple vision, which is we want a world in which more than 9 billion people live within planetary boundaries. And we do this by accelerating the transformation of businesses, their value chains, and the systems, very importantly, the systems they operate in, to avert 3 critical challenges that the world faces: climate emergency, help in restoring nature, and tackling inequality. This is just a quick example of the work that we've done and the impact that we have, given that I'm talking about power here. One example from the power sector. Over the last 7 years, we've worked with companies across the globe in accelerating their energy transformation, helping them procure renewable power. And this is just a quick look at the impact that we've been able to have. Our members have been able to procure 51% of their total electricity usage from renewable power, which is 2.5 times more than all companies reporting to CDP, which is an organization that collects data internationally. And this has been equivalent to the entire power consumption of Argentina. Another example of us working with governments and institutes at the G7 communique, they really accepted the avoided emissions guidance that we produced along with our members. So this was businesses, expert organizations across the globe, which then looked at how avoided emissions can be made into a standard. And now, back to energy. So energy transformation is critical for climate action, and we believe that Asia would play a key role in this. Why is energy important? Just plain numbers. Energy systems are responsible for 75% of the total greenhouse gas emissions, and power, electricity, accounts for 41% of those energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. And we believe that businesses would be at the forefront in taking and driving action towards energy transformation and climate action. You can see the World Economic Forum reported that more than 51% of the global emissions come from the companies, whether it be state-owned or private. So we know that businesses have a big responsibility. There's just some data from across the world on how companies have been able to advance in their renewable power procurement journey. I would just point out to the one that says, from the BNEF, that says that businesses signed a record 36.7 gigawatt of corporate renewable power purchase agreements globally. This was just last year. This is 10% of the capacity that was added to the grid of renewable power, which is huge. And why do we believe that Asia has a huge potential? Of course, you've heard about arguments on the great population, the growing population of Asia, the economic growth that Asia is going to have. But this argument that I'm presenting here is a bit that is a little less talked about. It's about the fact that Asia plays a critical role in the global supply chains. China would not be a surprise to any one of us. But if you look at this chart, you can see that South Korea, even for that matter, the ASEAN region, Indonesia, they're all very critical in terms of the goods and the products they supply to other parts of the world. And hence, there is an embedded carbon dioxide emissions that are associated with it. So of course, Asia is important from the perspective of what it generates, but it is also important for what it delivers to other parts of the world, and because of the embedded carbon emissions. And I don't have to repeat this, that there's a high economic risk that Asia faces if the temperatures rise to 3.2 degrees Celsius, which is where we are headed to. 26% of the region's GDP is at stake. So what's happening in the renewable power procurement area? We believe that there are a few new frontiers that are driving renewable power procurement across the globe now. You would have all heard about economics, reputation, stakeholders asking for more renewable power. They all remain as drivers, but there are a few drivers that are evolving now. And we put them in two categories based on the developments that are happening in the power system. So the power system has changed considerably from 10 years ago. And we also think that there are a number of developments in the sustainability ambition of companies. An example is Samsung within South Korea has signed up for RE100, despite South Korea presenting challenging times for renewable power uptake. So there are increased ambitions of companies. You also see that there is increase in stakeholder demand. So your stakeholders, your investors expect you to be in line with the change that is happening in the world. And the grid has changed. The way we as consumers interact with the grid has changed. In the past, we've never been prosumers. We've only been consumers. Now you can actually give back electricity to the grid and earn from it. So there is a two-way interaction that is happening with the grid that also is a new driver for you to produce and consume electricity in a manner that you can be efficient in interacting with the grid. These are the 6 leadership approaches that we think companies and countries can take going forward. And if you look at them, they're all from across the sustainability area. So gone are the times when sustainability was only about environment and emissions. It's now moving into the area of nature, equity. So what you procure and your renewable power procurement decisions would depend a lot and would be led by the fact whether you have a positive impact on the nature that is around you, whether you have a positive impact on the society that is around you. So is it a just energy transition? And are you providing 24/7 power, carbon-free power? So the problem with renewable power that we all know is that it only is around when those sources are around. And those sources are not around all the time. So are you ensuring that the grid is not suffering because of the choice that you have made for power consumption? And let me now focus on 24/7 carbon-free electricity. So what is 24/7 carbon electricity? What are the benefits and challenges? How do you procure it? And where have we seen action on this? First, what is 24/7 power? And I think that source, location, and time, they're the 3 very, very important factors when we are talking about 24/7 power. So you can see the definition of 24/7 power as it is defined by the UN Global Energy Compact. It means that you have every kilowatt hour of electricity that you are consuming is coming from a carbon-free source for every hour of every day. That is what is called 24/7 electricity. And let me tell you, there is no standard definition, but this is one of the definitions that are accepted currently. Why do we need it? You can see on the chart on your right that these are examples from California and Germany grid. If you are consuming 100% solar power, but that 100% is on an annual basis, then your reduction in greenhouse gas emissions are to the tune of 50%, the real reductions. If you're consuming 100% wind, because the capacity factors are a little higher, your reductions are in the range of 60 to 70%. But it's only with 24/7 power that you can actually reduce it to zero. So that is the main reason that we need 24/7 carbon-free electricity. The other reasons are that you need to increase transparency in procurement when you are disclosing to your stakeholders, when you are telling your people in the nation about how you've been procuring electricity. This gives complete transparency on how this electricity is being sourced. The other is that it also incentivizes new build of carbon-free infrastructure, which is very much needed to promote carbon-free procurement. And how you do it? First of all, you identify, and very importantly, you identify the demand areas. So you look at where, and I said that location and time are two very, very important parts of this 24/7 power. While we sometimes only focus on supply side, so where this energy is coming from, we forget to focus on demand. And even when we focus on demand, our main motto is to reduce demand, be energy efficient, which is great. Another step that we should be taking in demand is to look at how we can shift it. So one, you reduce the demand, optimize it. But second, how do you shift it to areas as well as the time zones or time hours or hours where carbon-free power is being produced? So I could give you an example of South Korea. South Korea, I understand that the southern part of the country is where most of the renewable power is concentrated, but the demand centers lie on the northern part of the country. Can South Korea as a country look at how demand centers or some of the demand centers can be shifted to the southern part of the country so that, one, you don't need that amount of grid infrastructure to extend and to produce, to supply the renewable power or carbon-free power to the demand centers, and two, it's just more efficient. So demand is a very important part of 24/7. The second thing that I would like to point out to is technologies. So once you've optimized demand, you look at which technologies could help you make that mismatch between the supply and demand. And they can be different depending on where you are present, where your operations are, and at what times of the day and year are you operating. And then a very important part as well is collaboration between the government and the private sector. We don't think that 24/7 power can work out without a close collaboration. And just to focus on that point here, we believe that the public sector plays not only a key role in putting in place the appropriate policies, but it also plays a key role in ensuring that the market design and the regulations are in line with supporting flexibility sources. We also think that there is a need to optimize the generation mix. So the public sector needs to, for a country, the public sector needs to look at what the optimized mix of generation is. So it can be different for different locations and different countries, depending on where they are located, what resources they have access to. But it's very important to be technology neutral when you're talking about 24/7 power. You want to go to a place where you have access to carbon-free power, which is needed for climate action. Don't have biases for which technology you should be choosing. Go with where the location is and look at what the optimal mix is. And the private sector, of course, the need is, one, first of all, to create a very strong demand. So have the demand so that the ecosystem can be put in place. And then work on the solutions. So innovation also happens from the private sector, and very importantly, the financial sources. So these are quick, in summary, these are the principles for 24/7 power that we see are critical. Location, I already mentioned. Time, I already mentioned. It's also important, additionality comes in, and I'm sorry for using a technical term here, but what additionality really means is that you are creating new projects rather than using the existing projects. So it's important for you to not only bank on the existing projects, but create new projects which are providing carbon-free power. And it has to be 24/7. Carbon-free electricity is a very systems-level concept. It has to make system efficient. So you'll see later, but not every company has to be 24/7. It has to be at the system level that we have to be 24/7. And like all good things, this also comes with its sets of challenges. The reason I have reiterated the benefits here is it's good to see that these challenges exist, but this is what it gives us, so it's worth it. The challenges are, and this is a general one, that there are high costs attached with adopting these technologies. I would say that it's really, we can't have a general blanket of high costs. It really depends on where you are and what operations you have, and you can actually get to a commercially viable solution. I can give you an example of our work in India that we did on energy storage. There's been a lot of talk about adopting energy storage to make the grid flexible, and everyone in India said that this doesn't make commercial sense right now, we're not adopting it right now. We only worked with a handful of utilities, the distribution utilities, as well as the commercial and industrial consumers, where we looked at where exactly it makes sense, for what applications. And we gave them exactly those applications and what the commercials look like. And I'm very proud to say that there are a couple of projects that have already come out, which are going to be the torchbearers for other projects. So when you hear high cost as an argument, please don't fall for it under a general blanket. There is, of course, a lack of standardization, but all of this develops when the market develops. And for companies in specific, these are some of the incentives for taking up 24/7 carbon-free electricity. So apart from GHG reductions, it also helps you in ESG disclosure. So you have to be more transparent. Your stakeholders are asking for more disclosure and transparent disclosure. And very importantly, it helps you gain and increase your access to capital markets. This is a quick look at how you can procure 24/7 carbon-free power. I would just touch upon these steps. First of all, very important is to have the right data. If you do not have the data for hourly consumption or even more granular consumption, you cannot look at 24/7. So ensure that in a country, in a company, you have the right data tools to analyze and to manage. Second one, I would like to re-emphasize, optimize demand, both reduce and shift. Look at various technology options. Look at your procurement decision should also be based on the suitability and the assessment of emissions abatement potential. So what is the new project that you are investing in replacing, and what is its abatement potential? Set for yourself gradually increasing 24/7 targets, be realistic, and then look at what the local grid scenario is and what is the type of resource mix that you can focus on. And then you evaluate various market-based instruments to trade as well, and then you go back, review, and then look at your targets again, which is an important point. I'm just very happy to give examples of companies that have already started doing this, and very happy to say that 2 of these companies are already in the panel today, Google and Microsoft. So these are some of the examples of projects that they have taken up across the globe to procure 24/7 renewable power. I would just like to draw your attention to the column which says hourly. And it has, you would notice that it doesn't all have 100%. It has 90%, it has 92%, which is a very important aspect. When we're looking at 24/7, let's not all look at 100%, because by the nature of electricity, you cannot be efficient if every small consumption block is going to be 24/7. And it's only these big companies like Google and Microsoft Benz that can, Mercedes-Benz, that can do it. Smaller companies can even look for lower percentages. Important aspect is to be efficient at the systems level. Given that there are a number of mayors here as well, I would just like to point out the progressive cities as well that have taken this initiative. So it's not a corporate thing only, it goes to a city level. And then I would just like to focus on how you can progress and how you can accelerate your 24/7 journey. There are a number of global organizations that exist that are full of companies, organizations, and countries that are all looking at advancing their 24/7 journey. Unfortunately, at the global fora, the voice of Asian companies is not as well heard as for other countries. And that is not because it's not given the weightage, it's mainly because Asian companies are not present. So I would really encourage companies in Asia and even governments in Asia to take part in the global fora, take part in organizations that collect these different organizations from across the world and raise your voice. Because we often hear that global standards do not adhere to the Asian policy framework or region. That's why we need more voice. Last slide. We strongly believe that the ESG criteria will be very well integrated into power procurement decisions. Until now, most of us have been looking at just our impact on environment, but it's going to go beyond environment. And even within environment, it's going to go beyond just direct GHG reduction. So you can see, you should look at the life cycle assessment of the project. So not only where are the materials going after the project life is over, how are they being mined, how are they being refined? Social acceptance. When you're looking at the generation mix, it's very important to see what the people you're catering to believe about the resources. So social acceptance, given its impact on safety, health, pollution, all of that is very important. The impact on surrounding nature, both living and non-living organisms is very important. And on the government side, I would, of course, ESG disclosures and transparency in procurement is important, but the diversification of generation mix is also important for energy security reasons. We've seen, if you focus on just a few, even if it is just renewables, if you focus on just solar or just wind, it's going to, one, it is inefficient, and two, it makes you dependent on a specific supply chain. So diversify depending on where you are. Just reiterating the key messages, diversify the power generation mix, reduce power demand and shift it close to both in time and location to carbon-free energy supply. Public and private sector collaboration is very important. And at the corporate level, 24/7 is not Bible. 24/7 is not a target for everyone. 24/7 target is mainly for larger corporations because they have larger demand. They have a little bit of a higher responsibility, but others can do with sub 24/7 level targets depending on what is efficient for the entire system. Kamsahamnida. Thank you so much.